And if you are open to the family photo album and found out that book, it doesn't exist for him, imagine the feeling of open space that should be filled with memories, stories, and moments shared with others, and to understand that it's all empty, as if it had never happened to me. It may seem impossible, but this experience is more common than you think, especially for anyone who, in the course of a lifetime, facing the invisibility and exclusion in the history of the family. Have you ever gone through this? Have you ever felt like, even when you are present, and their presence has been erased, forgotten, or simply ignored? Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out right now might surprise you, and you open your eyes to a reality that is too often overlooked, even though it is full of pain and a deep meaning. The construction of a family photo album should be a space of unity and belonging. It is here that the record of who we are and where we come from, who we love, and who we are celebrating. These images represent our history, our roots, our moments of joy, and even with the difficulties that we face it together. For many families, the images are a symbol of love, appreciation, and respect. They show anyone who is remembered, who is in the area, who are part of your core, which builds on the narrative of the family. But, unfortunately, not all stories are like that. Some of the people, by reason of the silent and oftentimes invisible, but it was deleted from this memory space. And that divide is not merely a lack of photos or a name. She carries a symbolic weight that it reflects a reality that is more in-depth depreciation and changes. For those who live in this situation, the impact is devastating. When, in the absence of it becomes a constant, it conveys the message of your story. In your presence, in your value, it simply does not matter. And this is exactly the reason that many Black people, especially the older ones, if they feel when they realize that their faces, their names, their histories have been systematically cut off, ignored, or left out. Is this pain in silence, often hidden behind the smiles and the words of acceptance? It is a form of racism and misty, a symbolic violence, which manifests itself in the absence of, in some instances, and in the apply to you. You can't imagine the weight of a lifetime of carrying this feeling, the pain of being cleared up in the space that was supposed to celebrate its history, the most important thing. We'll learn more of our story and to understand what this would mean in practice, and how it affects the people who live in this experiment, and what is the emotional impact of being invisible in your own family. Stay with me, because this is a theme that deserves our attention and understanding. The next step reveals the fact that many of the times we try to ignore it, but it needs to be recognized so we can build a society that is more fair and empathetic. If this topic makes no sense to you, leave it here in the comments on what you played or any experience that you have been in the program. In your opinion, is the key to the creation of an exchange, the true, which is enriched for both those who share and those who read it. In addition to this, if you like the content in here, don't forget to like the video for this little thing. Makes all the difference, so that more people can have access to this important message. Each and every enjoy is an incentive for them to continue exploring the issues that make us reflect and grow together. And of course, if you want to keep track of each and every discussion, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing, and it shows that you believe in the power of sharing knowledge and emotions. Your being here is what makes this channel grow, and to reach more people with this type of content and helping to spread empathy and understanding and with hope, feel free to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. It all feeds into a strong community where we can learn from each other and move in the direction of a society that is more inclusive and more aware of it. Because at the end of the day, it's that connection that becomes our story, and that leads us to look forward, always striving for a better version of ourselves. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation that we seek. It often starts off just the way we see the world around us. It's like having a magnifying glass, which, very often, it is blurred by the limiting beliefs, fears, and patterns that have been built up over the years. These filters are invisible, shape our choices and our reactions, and even to our sense of the possibilities. When we first started to argue with that lens, to see behind the scenes of what really influences our thoughts, it's as if the light starts to light up areas that have remained hidden in the silent, almost invisible. And with this revelation, has a profound impact on our way to self-knowledge, because it allows us to understand that a lot of limitations on what we believe to be external, they are, in fact, built-in, designed for an account, that we accept them without question. The truth is hidden, often in the form of how we think, what happens to those around us. For example, a simple rejection of it can be transformed into an opportunity for growth as we understand that it does not define all of our experiences, but is a part of the learning process. This is a change of mindset is a major key to the transformation. When we learn to separate our identity from the results and the opinion of others, we have gained a freedom that seemed to be unreachable. It's as if we begin to understand that we are the architects of our own impact. It is able to shape our emotions, and our actions are based on a new understanding of the value and purpose. And in doing so, we take an important step towards a life of more self-aware, and where every decision is an opportunity for evolution. It's not a weight or a prison sentence. However, it is not always that the change is fast and straightforward. Many times you need to revisit the old beliefs, challenging emotions that we'd rather avoid, avoid, and you have to accept that the growth of the real is about having the courage to see the truth they prefer to hide in. This is a journey of self-discovery, which is at the same time the challenging and the liberation from it reveals behind the scenes of your own mind. And in doing so, we found out that our history is not only written by outside events, but mostly for our own answers within, by our standards, the emotional, and the decisions that we make in the face of adversity. In this context, consciousness and becomes an ally to powerful, because it gives us the power to choose what you really want in our lives, rather than just reacting to the circumstances. It is in this reflection that many of the revelations that happen. It was observed that for the back of our worries, there's a chance for transformation. That is, on the back of the fear of making a mistake, there is an opportunity to learn something new. And instead of running away from difficulties, you can use it as a tool for growth. This is a paradigm shift which will impact profoundly on our journey, because it leads us to understand that the biggest impact we can make is the one that comes from the inside out. When we align our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions with our deepest values, everything around you starts to change. And in the process, we gain further clarity about who we are and where we want to go. But this change doesn't just happen for a decision in the moment or a change in surfaces. It takes, a lot of times, myself, our own stories, and break down what they've been taught and rebuild it with a new narrative, one that is based on the fact that we've discovered along the way. And this is a reconstruction that requires courage, because it challenges us to abandon the old comfort zones and embrace the unknown with hope and determination. It is a process of constant reinvention, in which each step forward reveals a new layer of hidden potential, new possibilities which before seemed to be unattainable. And at the same time, the journey connects us to a community of people who are looking for change and are willing to challenge their own beliefs and to grow up in addition to the apparent limits. For this reason, to understand the behind the scenes of what really influences our decision-making, it is an act of courage and self-esteem. This is to acknowledge that we are in a constant state of evolution, capable of rewriting our history at any given time. Every choice, every thought, every feeling is a key piece in the puzzle that makes up our lives. When we begin to understand such an impact, it's clear that the real power lies in our ability to make our own like that, the question of what limits us, and to make room for a new life, more in tune with who we really are and who we want to be. And then, in a movement of transformation, each and every one of us, it becomes a source of the impact. It can also serve as inspiration to other people to discover and rewrite their own stories. He comments that, "It makes no sense for me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, in fact, that it actually turns you on a journey of self-discovery in a permanent thing is to understand that our everyday decisions are like the seed that, with time, they germinate and helps to shape who we are." Many times, people get stuck on the idea that big changes require the actions of the great, but the truth is hidden. It's that it's the small, consistent steps that generate the greatest impact. It's as if every choice, every action should be a piece of a puzzle, invisible to you, to fit in with patience and dedication, and it reveals something new. This is an awareness that our actions every day carry an immeasurable power, is the first step in any transformation is genuine, because it has made us realize that we are not at the mercy of chance, but are the protagonists of our own storyline. However, this understanding is often obscured by a veil of doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs that accumulate over time. It's as if a fog is invisible, in the way of looking at how people are able to have an influence on the impact of that we want to make it in the world. And here comes the revelation that few of them actually stop and reflect on the power of truth on our mind, the way we interpret our experiences, what we believe to be possible or impossible, to set the pace of our progress. When you begin to question those beliefs, but to open up space for new possibilities to emerge, we have begun to realize that the journey of transformation does not only depend on external circumstances, but above all, a change in its internal structure that needs to be done first. Think of our minds as a fertile ground for us to help you understand why some people seem to move with more ease, while others remain trapped in cycles of auto-sabotage. It's as if your head was in a garden where the seeds of confidence, courage, and hope, they need to be planted and cared for with attention to the rate. Every positive thought, every decision, act different. It's like a drip that feeds into this garden. And in doing so, we create a solid foundation that underpins the whole of our journey of self-discovery. Without such a basis, any change, it is very unstable, like a house built on sand. But with it, we can build on the pillars of strong and able to withstand the storms are more frequent and more intense. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the impact that the mind is transformed with reverberations far beyond our own lives. It influences those around us, our relationships, our actions at work, at home, and in the community. When we become conscious of the power we have to change our perspective, we can begin to understand that every choice we make is an opportunity to create a chain of positive influence. It is as if, in turn, we are also helping to reveal the truth hidden in that we are all capable of more than you think, provided that you decide to open the door to a fresh view of the world. This is a journey of self-transformation, happen. So it is not just the individual, but it is a real revolution in the quiet. You can make an impact on the universe around us in ways we could not have foreseen. And in the process, some of the scenes begin to unfold, the moments of doubt, and to the implications, in the sense that your path is more difficult than we might have previously thought. Yet, it is precisely at this point that our resilience is put to the ultimate test. Each challenge, rather than a reason to give up, he must become an opportunity to strengthen our resolve. After all, it's the true transformation does not occur in the absence of trouble, but in the ability to persist, even when everything seems to be conspiring against you. This is the culmination of a journey that is really worth the effort, because it turns out that what we do next, it's the courage to continue to insist on learning from mistakes, and to believe that, in the end, the truth hides behind all this, is that we have been able to create a new version of ourselves. And then, as the story unfolds, each step we take leads us to understand that change is a continual revelation of who we really are. It is not a final destination, but a journey of discovery of rebirth ups that are going to mold our lives in a way that it is not always possible to imagine in the beginning. Then, reflect on the path that causes us to see the impact we can have on the world, and it starts right there, within us, in the decision of rewriting our own stories with bravery, authenticity, and open-minded to the possibilities. And then, in a movement of transformation, each and every small step forward, it becomes a key part of building a life that is aligned with our deepest values, which has the potential to transform everything around us in a way that no one else can do it for us. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is exactly the essence of the little changes that we find the true power to shape our own destiny. Many times we look for change, great results fast, remedies, spells to solve all of them at once. But the truth is hidden, the one that very few know, is that the whole case in detail, and in those moments of quiet in which we decide to act in a different way, to think in a way that was new, or just need to keep focus, even when everything around you seems to fall apart. It is at this point that the mind turns out to be the most powerful weapon we have, because it determines how we read each and every challenge we face, every obstacle, and, most importantly, how we choose to react to adversity. When we begin to understand that each and every decision, however small they may seem to you, it is a very important part in our journey. It changes everything in the picture. It's like, all of a sudden, the whole of our history, it would be written on with my life, with the intention to develop, to learn, and to change. This change in perspective is the one that makes all the difference, because she takes the role of a victim of fate or circumstance, and it puts us in the position of the main protagonists of the growth. From then on, each gets a different weight, because we understand that we are not at the mercy of chance, but rather in control of who we really are and the impact we can have on our lives. And it is precisely at this point that we start to look beyond the surface to discover the hidden truths that are often hidden in your daily routine. We hold these truths to many times, and are linked to by our own limiting beliefs, the way that we see ourselves in the face of the world, to the stories that we tell, in order to justify what they didn't turn out right up until now. When you have the courage to confront this deep-rooted in the impact of our transformation at once, we understand that our decision-making does not happen in a vacuum, but rather within, out of a population of internal and external influences, which, when lined up, have increased our ability to change. A journey of self-discovery, for example. It shows behind the scenes that, until then, were not seen. With each discovery, each of the revelation, it's like a piece of a puzzle that, once assembled, it shows you have a clear picture of what we really want in our lives. And in the process, you realize that it is the truth. The more powerful it is than what it really becomes is not what happens out there, but it's the way we interpret, absorb, and act on the basis of these experiments. In the end, the true transformation is not just a matter of the external environment, but rather a change in its internal structure and of a mindset that allows us to see possibilities where before you could only see the obstacles. There's something interesting that so many people fail to go to: the power of conscious decisions on the construction of a reality that is more in alignment with our core values. These actions, which seem to be small, they carry an energy that is capable of creating a chain of events that could have an impact throughout history. When we begin to take on such a responsibility, it's our day-to-day becomes more and more intent, more serious. And at this point, we note that the biggest impact that we can make are just the way we choose to react to those situations and our ability to maintain calm and to trust in the process and to persevere, even when everything seems to be conspiring against you. The most fascinating part of it is that, to deepen this understanding, we realize that we are constantly in a process of discovery. With each revelation, each and every insight, it brings us closer, a little more of the truth of that nature that often gets hidden under the layers of insecurity, fear, or doubt. The more we connect with the truth that is hidden, the more powerful it becomes our desire to move forward and to make choices that truly reflect who you are and leave the old shackles that prevent us from moving forward. It's as if, when you unfold out these behind the scenes to internal, get a whole new perspective about the real impact of what we have in our own history. That is why it is so important not only to seek answers answers outside, but also to dive deep inside you, exploring the roots of our own making. Because, at the end of the day, this is the greatest revelation of all. That true transformation begins from the inside out, in detail, many times, and seem to be small, but they have the power to change everything. And so, as we continue on this path of self-discovery, the journey becomes more and more clear, more aligned, and more full of possibilities, and that before would have seemed impossible. With each step you through more of the silent, that is to say, it is a statement of who we are now ready to evolve, to transform, not only our history, but also the impact that we can make to our daily lives. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens, when we begin to unravel the layers are hidden in the mind. Many of the times, we believe that in the limit it is something external, a situation or a person, or a situation that seems out of our control. But, in fact, the biggest barrier to that is within us, in our own beliefs, in the way that we interpret the world, and the decisions we make on a daily basis. These beliefs have often been built up over the years, full of the stories that we tell in order to justify our fears, our insecurities, or that even our failures. The most fascinating part of it is that when you become aware of this, we can begin to see that we can rewrite these stories, and to create new narratives that empower us to take you on a journey of self-transformation to be real. When you immerse yourself in these behind-the-scenes to internal, you can see how important the question all the things that we accept as truth and the absolute. After all, many of our limitations are the result of a distorted view of what we're capable of, or the potential that we have. It is as if a dark cloud to cover our eyes, preventing us to see the light that exists in all of us. And this is the cloud, in the vast majority of the time, is made up for any doubts, patterns of behavior, which we have inherited, or even a fear of the unconscious, of being different, or of the face of the unknown. When we begin to break, these locks are built in, with a sense of freedom comes up, and then it all starts to make sense, in a way that's more clear, more authentic. In the process, our way of thinking and becomes a key point. The way we think about some of the obstacles, all the decisions that we make in the face of adversity, all of this has a direct influence on our development. Don't you just want to change? It is necessary to bring in a new perspective, a different way of seeing the world and ourselves. It is about having the courage to face our own shadows, accepting our imperfections, and at the same time, to recognize the potential that is hidden behind one of them. At this point, its authenticity turns out to be an ally to powerful, because if we are true to ourselves, we create a solid foundation for any change that we want to achieve. On the basis of this understanding, we can begin to understand what is the real difference is not something that just happens 1 hour to the next, but a building on a daily, made up of little deeds, the choices that strengthen our brand new mindset. It is like a journey to the place where each and every decision, no matter how simple it may seem, it is an opportunity to reinforce who you want to be, and in it, to think about our own limits, to become an instrument for growth, as it shows us exactly where we need to work on, and where we will grow, and even where we are in the sabotage without realizing it. Thus, the impact of the transformation of the inner rings in all aspects of our lives, impacting our relationships, our careers, and even the way we look to the future. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the essence of the whole of the journey, is the decision to let go of that which binds us to the past and to unlock the shackles that keep us from moving forward and embracing a new version of ourselves. It takes courage to look within and without the fear of that which is revealed, and you have to accept that the real power lies in our ability to choose who we are and who we want to be. In this process, the analysis becomes a valuable ally. They have been able to build a new narrative, a story of resilience, and the impact that it really makes no sense to those who are of the truth. And while this is a journey of self-discovery gets back, there are new questions and new revelations that compel you to move forward. The one that actually stops us from achieving our dreams come true. What are the stories that we are now accepting it as the truth without even realizing it? And how can we turn each and every one of these prints in the concrete steps towards what we want? These questions lead us to reflect more deeply on our own, in essence, about the values that really matter to you, and the impact we can make when we align with our deepest truth. So, while you browse through these scenes to internal, we find that the true transformation requires more effort on the external or a simple change of routine. This is a change of mindset, a revolution in the built-in gearing up to face any challenge with courage, clarity, and purpose. Each and every revelation, every decision you make along the way, it is a key piece in the puzzle that we are putting together, a jigsaw puzzle, which, over time, reveals a new version of ourselves, the stronger, more aware, and more in tune with what really matters to you. And then, when they realize that the connection between self-awareness and impact, and it's clear that it all starts in our mind, in our ability to make our own, and to look beyond the surface, to a day that is first of all a revolution from the inside to the outside. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface. It is the upper house of our mind, the invisible architecture that supports all of our decisions and actions. limitations. And a lot of the time, this design is built up over a number of years, from the small choices that, their legacy, the experiences that left their mark, and above all, in the way that we interpret the world around us. It is as if we were in a kind of mental map that guides every step we take, whether it's conscious or unconscious, and that a map can be loaded from the limitations of unlimited possibilities. The big question is, how can we rewrite the chart such a narrative is built on the set? When you dive into this process, we realize that the key lies in the careful observation of one's own emotional responses in women and patterns that are repeated many times without our realization. Every thought, every feeling that comes up, she brings a message of what we believe to be the truth. And we hold these truths can be a block to our progress, creating a sort of invisible wall that prevents you from achieving what you really want. But what's more fascinating is that this change begins in our willingness to challenge, to explore this deep-rooted and to challenge the old beliefs. Many times, what seemed to be an absolute truth for our children and our youth, and today, it can be an obstacle in disguise of security. At this point, it is important to understand that this is a process of transformation that requires courage. Don't you just want to change it? It is necessary to face your own shadows, fears, and hidden in the questions that they insist on staying. It is like taking a journey of self-discovery, in which each step is taken in the same unlocks new opportunities for growth. And in doing so, we come to realize that many of our limitations are, in fact, the illusions created by the mind which has not yet been trained to see beyond what he was taught. When we were able to add to that vision, we create the space for a new narrative, a story that emphasizes the value of the potential, creativity, and the freedom to be who you really are. This change in mentality doesn't happen all of a sudden. It's a solid construction. And in the process, there is one thing that many people overlook, is the importance of nurturing positive thoughts and cultivating an inner dialogue, more compassionate. After all, you are our greatest allies, or to our worst enemies, depending on how you treat it. If you feed your mind with self-critical class, the limitations you have any questions, we will be feeding off of the wall that stands between us and the impact we can have on the world. But if we adopt an attitude of self-discovery, acceptance, and celebration of our small everyday victories, we are strengthening the foundation for a revolution built and able to change our reality from the inside to the outside. And this transformation is not just a matter of motivation in the moment or force of will. It is intrinsically linked to our ability to give a new meaning to the experiences, to understand that every challenge is an opportunity for growth, and that, even in defeat, there's a valuable lesson to be learned here. It is in this context that we find the true power of your brain. You have incredible flexibility, able to remodel it according to the choices we make. Are aware of this? When you go to work in the way intended by directing our thoughts to what we really want, we can begin to build a new life, one that truly reflects our deepest values and our aspirations for a more authentic. For this reason, it is critical that we maintain an attitude of curiosity and openness to the unknown. Many of the times, the greater the resistance to change is within us, in our comfort zone, which gives us the illusion of safety and security. But when you come out of this common ground, we discover a universe of possibilities, where every decision is an opportunity for the strengthening and development. And to this day, and although challenging, it is also incredibly freeing, because it puts us in control of our own story. It is as if, by reprogramming your mind, we are discovering a new form of existence, one that allows you to positively impact not only our lives, but also the lives of those who cross our path. To understand this connection between self-knowledge, mindset, and the impact, it is clear that the real change is a matter of priority, of courage, and commitment in daily. And in doing so, we have started to look beyond the surface, beyond what we've been taught, and began to act with authenticity and purpose. Because at the end of the day, the whole of that journey is a quest for what they really are. We can be when we choose to give up the limitations self-imposed. And in the process, we have found that the biggest impact we can make is the one who is born in the mind of the free, a heart that is aligned to and have a genuine desire to make a difference. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens at the very time when we begin to question everything they believe to be the truth. Many times you'll see the kind of backpack that's invisible. It's full of the limiting beliefs that have been imposed upon them by past experiences, the environment in which we grow up, and to the society in which we shape them. Such beliefs make the walls invisible, and it's preventing us to see the true possibilities of change and growth. And, in the background, it all starts in the mind, in the way that we interpret the world around us. And, of course, we are the same. When you come to know that those limitations are not what has happened, but the buildings inside, things start to change in a radical way. It is like a key that unlocks the door to a world of possibilities that once seemed out of reach. Every decision we make, every thought of what you eat has a direct impact on the quality of our journey of transformation. It's as if you were casting a sculpture out of them with our own hands, carving out a new version of ourselves with each small step in the right direction. And in this sculpture, this new brand identity was born from a mindset which appreciates the value value of the company's continuous growth, you agree to the error, such as a part of the process, and they understand that success is not a finish line, but a continuous journey. At this point, it's the truth it hides many of the times, is that the switch does not need a lot of acts, or the revolutions of the drama, but rather a shift in perspective, a conscious decision to look inward and to question all the things that prevent us from moving forward. As you delve deeper in understanding, we can begin to understand what the biggest obstacles are ourselves, our doubts and fears, and the old stories we tell. But we also realize that we all have the power to rewrite their stories and create new routes that will take us to an impact of a genuine one, and that goes beyond the surface. It is as if, to unlock the mind and to my heart, we're going to a near limitless potential as a source of energy that drives our actions and our decisions. And this effect, which arises out of an authenticity and true, all the sounds all around us, and influence of the people who cross our path, and, in some way, contribute to a bigger change in the world. In the behind the scenes of this journey of self-discovery, there is a revelation of the very few who are willing to see it. The real transformation is about having the courage to face up to the truth itself, even if it's uncomfortable or challenging. Because very often, we would prefer to hide behind any excuses or justification, rather than take responsibility for our growth. But when we open our eyes to the truth that is hidden, you start to realize that everything is at our fingertips, and that our choices shape our reality, and that every step in the right direction, it is a victory over all the limitations self-imposed. And in the process, we found out that the real evil is born from within, the mind is strengthened, and a heart that is willing to embrace change, not fear. From that point on, everything is a matter of choice. The choice to be free, to believe in their own strength, and to make a conscious decision to change your impact on the world. This choice is a movement that reverberates with the essence, thus creating a chain of actions. However small they are, they have the potential to trigger a revolution on the inside. And it is precisely this movement that is the true power to change your story, creating a journey that is authentic, relevant, and capable of inspiring others to also seek their own transformations. Now, as I reflect back on all of this, I believe that the next step is to figure out how this change takes root in practice, and how it is reflected in our daily actions, our relationships, and in the way we think about the challenges that come up along the way. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. When we first started really to bring this new perspective, everything looks and feels more clear, more tangible, such as a layer of smoke had been lifted from her eyes. It is at this point that the transformation is starting to manifest itself in a way that is more concrete in their daily routine. It's not an abstract idea, something that is only in your head, but it is a force that influences every choice, every reaction, every word spoken, and every silence, that which we choose to keep them. A growth mindset, for example, it is no longer a theory, and it turns out to be a daily practice, a lens through which we see the obstacles as opportunities to learn, rather than as insurmountable barriers. In the process, I'm beginning to realize that the impact of the choices we make going above and beyond what we imagined. Each and every small decision, it is time to get out of bed, to face a difficult task of coping with critical, or to celebrate an achievement. It has a bearing on the construction of our new reality, and you are well aware of that, so it may appear simple to do. It's powerful. It gives us a chance to rewrite our own history, and to take control of the situation that we are living in. And at the same time, it shows how often we allow ourselves to be carried away by the old standards, by questions that seem small, but together, they create a kind of invisible resistance to the growth of the genuine article. On the other hand, the journey also takes us to compare it to a true hidden, that many of those limitations don't come from the outside, but from within the US. It's a story that we have, the beliefs that you internalize, that somehow they end up shaping our behavior. When we begin to challenge these limits are internal to the question of what we truly believe to be possible, we feel a kind of wake-up. It is as if a new power to be passed to the pulse in our veins, pushing you to move forward, even when everything seems to be against us. This is the strength that arises from the understanding that we are the leading architects of our own destiny. You have the power to transform your journey. On the other hand, this change also reveals a behind the scenes on the inside is what many of the times we would prefer to conceal or ignore them. This is the moment when the courage is absolutely essential. Let's face it, the doubts, the fears, and insecurities truthfully. And in doing so, we begin to see that they are not the obstacles to the end, but just a part of the path. Each and every one of them brings a lesson, and the opportunity for growth, a chance to strengthen our way of thinking. And thus, the impact of these small changes, if you multiply that by creating a chain of positive actions, will reverberate in our lives as a whole. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because in reality, the understanding of the impact of our decision-making and the truth hidden that we have is just the tip of the iceberg. There is a layer of the more subtle, the revelation that a lot of people are not willing to accept at first, but it is the key to true transformation. It is important to understand that behind all of this, there is a journey of self-discovery, where each step requires courage, patience, and a dose of humility. It is a movement that challenges challenges what we believe to be the core, causing us to question all the things that, until then, seemed to be fixed and unchangeable. This transition often brings with it a sense of vulnerability, because it forces us to look into it more closely. And in doing so, we realize that what seemed to be an insurmountable barrier, it turned out to be an opportunity in disguise. Every challenge, every doubt, every time, it becomes a part of the process of building a new mindset, which little by little, we will be consolidating. In this course, we learn how to rely on ourselves, to understand that growth is not linear, and they often have the greatest impact comes from precisely the difficulties that we all face. And this is where it all starts to make sense, since the transformation is still a long way off, and it is a fact that has to be built on a daily basis. Each and every small victory, every insight, every moment's reflection, it's a stone that will be placed at the base of a sturdy, able to withstand the storms are more frequent and more intense. And at the same time, we are reminded that the base will only become stronger when we are honest with ourselves, when we admit our vulnerabilities, and we seek to learn from them. This is the culmination of a journey of truth to it, a commitment to in-depth knowledge, and to use that awareness as a tool to grow. Over time, you start to realize that this change of mind is not just a matter of thinking, but it's a transformation that impacts our way of perceiving the world. The impact manifests itself in our relationships, in the way that we connect you with the people around you, in your capacity for empathy, to know that each one carries its own game. This is the new vision that broadens our understanding of what the real power is in your authenticity, and the courage to be who you really are, regardless of the masks we wear to hide our insecurities. It's a discovery that fuels all of our experiences. It strengthens our authenticity, and at the same time, it makes us realize that we are all on a journey of evolution. And so, with each step taken in the direction of the truth that is hidden, in the direction of the mind stronger and more aware, to get us ready for the challenges ahead. Because after all, it is the path to growth is never ending, but it will be lighter and more transparent, and to the extent that we understand who we are in fact. It is a matter of alignment with the internal connection to the things that truly matter, in a constant search for a balance between who you are and who you want to be. And in this quest, it is an honest, he reveals that the real transformation is, in essence, it is a journey of self-discovery, where every decision is a very important part in the construction of a more authentic and powerful selves. Now, considering all this, it is a reflection of that, many times, and it all starts with one simple word, one decision, or even a small shift in attitude. Because deep down, it's in the way we think about these details, which is the biggest impact on our development. And then, when you understand the depth of that truth that is hidden, we realize that the real secret lies in the courage to look within, and you have to accept that. In spite of all the difficulties, we are able to transform every aspect of your life. This is the culmination of a journey that never ends, but is that each and every step takes us to a whole new level of consciousness and self-realization. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation we seek is not the case only with the actions of the surface, or changes in time sensitive. She comes from a conscious choice to explore what is really behind our emotions, our fears, and our deeply held beliefs. And in this way, we are often surprised by the revelation that challenges everything we thought we knew about ourselves, leading us to something of a Renaissance interior. It is in this process that we find the truth that is hidden, that they often avoid the face. She has the power to release the force of the extraordinary in all of us, the force that drives us to keep on going even when everything seems to fall apart. And that has made us realize that real change will only happen when we have the courage to face up to our own ghosts. During this journey, we realize that it's all intertwined with our daily decisions, our way of thinking, and the impact we make on our world. Each and every choice, it's a piece of the great puzzle of our evolution. And this understanding leads to a deeper understanding of what really turns. It's not just what we do, but how we think and feel in the face of adversity. It is our spirit, our willingness to embrace the vulnerability, which determines how much you are willing to continue to evolve. From that point on, it is clear that our emotions are powerful tools for change. We can begin to use this power to our advantage. And there you have it. Everything changes in a way that is almost magical, because we take it intuition, confidence, and authenticity. But this process of revelation, it also brings a series of challenges built into it. Many of the times, we are faced with truths we'd rather keep hidden, because that challenge our comfort zone. That's what is the role of courage. It is the bridge that connects who we are with what we can get. Being brave doesn't mean not feeling fear or self-doubt, but to move forward in spite of those feelings and emotions, you have to accept that the growth of the real demands of a dose of discomfort, which is a kind of sacrifice of the transient, that brings us to a whole new level of self-awareness. And when you do that, you start to realize that your limitations aren't as fixed as they seem. They are, in fact, of the buildings which we can break down and rebuild it in accordance with our decisions. To understand this, we can begin to see beyond what the eyes can pick up. We see the behind the scenes of our mind, the gears, the invisible, which drive our actions and reactions. This clearly gives us an immense power because it allows us to choose from, with more power. We are hostages of our standard machines, but we are the protagonists of a story that you can rewrite every single day. And it is precisely at this point that you begin with the true transformation, the decision to take control of our narrative, to no longer be a victim of circumstances and become the author of your own destiny. And, in the process, every revelation, every decision, every step will strengthen our inner power and strength is to build a solid foundation for what's really important. Now, I want to invite you to think about anything that may still be hidden on the inside. The fact that, if you are able to see clearly, you may completely transform the way. After all, every big change begins with a decision by a simple but powerful one. The decision to look within and accept all that is out there, and, from there, you choose the way that it really makes no sense to you. It is a journey of discovery that never ends, but it always brings with it new perspectives and possibilities. And then, when that is understood, we realize that the impact of our transformation is not just about what we've achieved out there, but in the courage to be loyal to the core, to embrace our vulnerability, and to move forward with authenticity. Because deep down, this is the real force that drives any changes in a lasting way. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. If you've come this far, it's because I identify with the journey of self-discovery and growth." I think that deep down, we all seek a better understanding of who we are and how we can evolve in a way that's more true. And then, this reflection, it made sense to you. Just leave a comment saying, "I'm with you till the end of love." This helps to create a stronger connection with the people and to show that it is the content that really has no value for anyone who is on the other side of the screen. And of course, don't forget to give a like and video, because for this, the exchange of experiences will only become stronger when we share that energy. Each to enjoy, each and every comment, it's a way of showing that it has touched you in some way, and it makes no sense to continue to explore these topics together. Our journey only gets richer when we share ideas and learn together. If you enjoyed this content, be sure your next video here on the side. It can help you to dig deeper in this discussion. Click there, and still am there. It is because there is always something new to discover. After all, this is a journey of self-discovery is ongoing, and with each step, we open up space for new possibilities. So, stay with me on this quest for a better understanding of who we are and how we can live a more lightweight and reliable. I'll see you there in the next video. Till then, remember this: your progress starts with one step at a time.